In 2012, the Trailblazers completely shifted their franchise for the next decade or so, with the 6th pick in the draft picking Damian Lillard. Lillard is one of the most clutchest, skilled players we've seen in the past decade of basketball, and he's still with the same team that drafted him, and is infamously known around the NBA community as one of the best players in the league without a championship. Now, Dame has never been a bad playoff performer. He's actually been the opposite, putting his averages on the screen right now, averaging about 25 points per game, 6 assists, I think 4 rebounds, something like that. His only real bad playoff run was in the 2018 playoffs when he went against the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, in that playoff run that I'm talking about is easily his worst playoff performance in his whole career. I think he averaged around 18 points per game. He was swept in the first round. Now, no superstar should be playing like that, but to give him the benefit of the doubt, he was guarded by a very good defense in the New Orleans Pelicans with Drew Holiday and Rajon Rondo. Now, the Pelicans, those playoffs were only ranked 8th in defensive rating, with a 107.0 defensive rating. That doesn't sound very good. It's like middle of the pack in the playoffs with only 15 teams in each playoffs. But if you take that same rating, which is 107.0, and you put that defensive rating in last season's playoffs, they are tied for 3rd best with the Miami Heat. So that is a very good defense he went up against in the first round. He did get swept. He didn't do very good. Not excusing all of that, but I'm just giving some context. Now we went to his lowest point in the playoffs. Now we're going to probably his highest. 2021 playoffs, which was literally the last time he was fully healthy because he wasn't healthy last season. He only played about 20 games last year. But in the 2021 playoffs, he averaged about 30 points per game, 10 assists per game, 4 rebounds per game, about 46% from the field, 45% from the three-point line, and 94% from the free throw line. If you're saying Damian Lillard is the reason why Trailblazers have not gone anywhere in the playoffs except for that one year they went to the conference finals, you need to relook at what you think you know about basketball and what you think you know about Lillard and the Trailblazers, and then you come back and talk. Damian Lillard, standout performance in Game 5 of the first round against the Nuggets, one of the best playoff performances I've ever seen live, where he dropped 55 points, 10 assists with only 1 turnover, 6 rebounds, 3 blocks, a steal, 70% from the field, 70% from the three-point line as well, and that is not a typo. That is a real performance. I know it looks like some insane numbers that you go on 2K and get, but it is a real performance by Dame, and goes to show you he is not the reason why the Trailblazers have not won a championship yet. Dame in the regular season has also proved in the past 5 years, excluding last season because he was literally injured for more than half the year, has gone to show us he is a regular season performer as well. He will get you to the playoffs if he is healthy, averaging about 27 points per game, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, and around 40% from the field and between 35 and 40% from 3. Dame has also been extremely reliable health-wise in the past couple seasons, playing about 81% of the games each season for the past 5 years. And this is of course excluding last year where he was of course injured for most of it. Now on to the real topic of the video, which is, what if he does win a championship with the Trailblazers? If Lillard does end up winning the championship with the Blazers, with him being the first option, I believe Damian Lillard is without a doubt a Hall of Famer. And he is a top 75 player of all time, which is a very controversial thing. I've even said it myself. I believe players like Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili might be a little biased because I'm a Spurs fan, should be there instead of him. But I think if he does win a championship, he solidifies himself as a top 75 player of all time. Definitely a top 100 player of all time, and a Hall of Famer, first ballot without a doubt. Dame has also been scrutinized for his loyalty, and a lot of memes and jokes have been made about him because of his loyalty to the Trailblazers. And if something like this were to happen with him winning a championship with the Trailblazers through the thick and thin, this might bring a lot of people back to loyalty and look at it differently than they do now. A lot of players, coaches, staff, fans think loyalty is kind of a dead thing in the NBA. And that's why I love Giannis so much. He was drafted in 2013, I believe, by the Bucks. He worked his way up, got muscles, got skills, and he stayed loyal to the team and won a championship in 2021. And me as a Spurs fan, I love loyalty. I think it's a beautiful thing in the game. And I don't really like it when I see superstars, teaming up with each other, Kevin Durant, going to the Warriors and everything. Of course, you want to win championships and rings and all the good stuff with superstars alongside of you. That's how you do it. You don't win alone. But I just think all the super teams and everything is kind of going downhill, especially with the Nets breaking up with Kevin Durant requesting a trade, Kyrie Irving, I don't know what's going on with him, and James Harden, of course, being traded last season. The super team era looks like it's going downhill, and loyalty might be on the rise again. But to look at Damian Lillard's career in whole, if he was to win a championship with the Trailblazers, he is without a doubt a top 10 player in the league. But Lillard, ever since his injury, has really been kind of forgotten in the talks of top point guards in the league, top players in the league. And I think if he wins a championship, he is without a doubt a top 10 player in the league. And if Dame does win a championship with the Trailblazers, just one, if he wins multiple, that's even better. I think he's in the conversation for a top 5 point guard of all time. Yes, I'm going there. If you disagree, put it in the comments. I want to hear your take on it. But Dame is so unstoppable offensively with his playmaking, passing, his shooting, of course, his clutch shots ability, his mid-range, his finishing. And to add a championship on top of that would be amazing. And you might say Damian Lillard doesn't have any MVPs. Well, for one, he has a lot of time to win one. And for two, you know who else doesn't have any? Isaiah Thomas. Who else? John Stockton. Somebody else? Jerry West. These are all arguably top 5 point guards in the history of the NBA, top 10 for sure. And Dame doesn't have to win an MVP to prove how amazing of a player he was and to be a top 5 point guard of all time. You see what happened with Giannis when he won his first championship. People said he was already the second best power forward of all time behind Tim Duncan. Now, Giannis does have the defense over Damian Lillard without a doubt. Giannis is one of the best defenders we've seen in the past decade. But Dame isn't like a horrible defender to the point where it diminishes his offensive game, and he's to the point where he's scoring buckets, but he's also letting teams score buckets on him all the time. Dame is not that at all, but he's also not a stellar defender, and that's why if the Blazers want to win a championship, they need a perimeter defender alongside Dame. Now, I did get GP2 this past offseason, which is not a bad pickup at all. I think it was a very underrated pickup. But GP2's offense is, of course, not reliable at all. But the Blazers' pickups this past offseason have been pretty decent. They picked up Jeremy Grant, GP2, of course, like I just said, Joe Ingles, who might not play until like mid-season with his torn ACL, but still a good pickup once he does become healthy. The Blazers, at this point as I'm recording, are not championship contenders in my opinion, but I do think they can get close in the Western Conference Finals. But I do think they need that one secondary star alongside Dame. Doesn't need to be a superstar. Doesn't need to be Kevin Durant like Lillard posted on his IG story. Doesn't need to be Donovan Mitchell or something. It can be a player like DeJounte Murray, who I know was just traded. He's not going to get traded to Portland right now. But who can play good, solid defense on the perimeter. He can play make when Dame is off the floor. He can finish at the rim. He can still shoot off the catch and shoot if Dame is, double teamed or something. I'm just using DeJounte as an example, by the way. I'm not saying they should go out and get him because obviously Portland is not in the position to get someone like DeJounte, especially when the Hawks just got him this offseason. But I'm just saying a player like that would be very nice alongside Dame. Now, for the center position, I do think Nurkic is a pretty good player. He can play make. I think his playmaking is very underrated. His defense has never been that great, but his offensive game is pretty nice. I just think that's not what the Blazers need from a center. I think Jeremy Grant brings the big man, if you want to call him a big man, offense. Nurkic is kind of just more offense, but when you already have Dame, you have Jeremy Grant, you don't really need all this offense. You're going to need some center play, like big man center play, some defense in the paint. That's why I think missing out on Gobert this past offseason is kind of an L. But when you look at what Utah was asking for Gobert, I'm not really, too hard on Portland because that is an insane package. But I think players like Hassan Whiteside are still in free agency. I think that would be a solid pickup. And he did play with the Blazers, I'm pretty sure, a couple seasons ago. Now, I don't know if he left on bad terms or something. I don't know if there's some bad blood. That's why I'm not signing him. But I just think a solid big man who can play some solid defense, gets you a couple rebounds, I think that can be a very nice pickup for Portland. Now, they're not winning a championship, obviously, next season, but I think next season is going to be very important for Portland to see how Dame is out of the offseason, not injured anymore, how Jeremy Grant plays alongside of him, how Nurkic plays coming off of his injuries. I think it's going to be very important and see what they are missing, expand on that, get players that they need, build up on that, and keep Damian Lillard as long as possible if you're Portland, because he's your franchise. He's who you want to be holding the Larry O'Brien trophy at some point. Now, if you disagree or you agree or you're on the fence a little bit with what I'm saying, put it down in the comments. Let's have a conversation. Be respectful. And if you like the video, like button's down below, subscribe button's there as well, and notification bell if you want to be notified as soon as I upload. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace out.
Come on.